I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996 I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone, the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322.
I have duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome to Already Dead, your weekly recap, a call-in show, parapolitical, conspiracy, all these words we throw together, well, they all apply. And we're here every day, Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, at least most of us are. 2 out of 3 are usually here, between me, Austin, and Jules. Sometimes we have Jules pinch hit, and last week was no exception. Thank you guys for covering. I was being a kitty daddy. I was a kitty midwife, so I was dealing with some stuff. I had a rough week, but hey, we're good now. Did some remedial care. Some needed some bottle feeding, but now they're all good, and I'm back with you guys. So we're ready to get into it. It's been a pretty wild week. The pedopocracy is going off the rails, dude. Yeah, man, it's been quite the shit. I mean, it really has been quite the week. We were literally just talking about the whole Rogan stuff going on on the phone before all this, and I was just thinking about it just now, and I was like, literally within I think the past week. Although maybe I have a bad conception of time because I wasn't here last week, but I think it was within the week that we had the Anna Paulina Luna thing. We had, I believe, Sam on. Obviously, we've had this Israeli story with the whole, for those who are unaware, this guy who got caught pretty red-handed trying to diddle some kiddo, and then they sent him back off to Israel, despite the fact that what he had done. And this guy was no slouch. This guy was the head of the Cyberdome program and a whole bunch of other shit. And
dude, I was reading about I mean, business is booming, I would say, right? And I would also say that recycled propaganda has been very much alive and well. But in terms of this Israeli protected pedophile who was very much given, obviously, a safe route home, and his passport was not seized, although he had been clearly apprehended and charged for I mean, that's just fascinating to me that also the appointment 3 weeks prior, right? I believe is the Trump appointed Nevada U.S. attorney, right? That that basically, what is it, Sigal Chattah or something?
Yeah, that sounds right. It was Sigal Chattah or something. It was a weird one, yeah. She's just she's basically a female Randy Fine. She's a Randy Fine if he was a regular or a cast member of the Real Housewives or something,
Right. She feels like just an obvious spook. I mean, clearly, but she was strategically put into a position where she could facilitate a cover-up such as this. So.
I don't even think she's a spook. Have you go through her things? I think she's just a dyed-in-the-wool believer. Did you look in the background? I didn't look her background at all. I was just looking at her tweets. Maybe she is a character or not a spook, right. But she's also she comes off as a dyed-in-the-wool. So maybe that's her role. Or maybe sometimes two things are true at the same time. Sometimes part of the reason why they're a dyed-in-the-wool believer is because they're a glowy. So,
Right. She did
yeah.
come back and like attempt to address this and reject any sort of like involvement in a certain way. I believe she made a statement, right? But I think that I saw her statement earlier today where she was essentially saying that she was putting the blame on a court judge in the state of Nevada, right? Is basically what it was,
Yeah.
and that they failed to essentially force the individual perpetrator to surrender his passport is basically what the explanation was that she gave. But I mean, it's very
just the one
convenient.
tweet. Yeah, it's just the one
Yeah,
tweet
yeah.
I saw, unless something was new. And it was that. It was completely. It struck me as like a frame game, essentially. The idea of they're framing it in a way of, because the story supposedly what happened is that since Sigal Shatta, was the attorney there, she passed it off to the local one. She declined to prosecute, which I don't know. I mean, I'm no lawyer, but I mean, but from what I've read a little bit, sounds like that. Like, I guess sometimes that is a thing they do, which for various reasons. But the thing is, given who this was and the nature of the crime, this would be the time in which it would make more sense for a higher level to take over. So the point that this got taken, that she declined to do it. I mean, obviously she framed it as like, well, she passed the buck to somebody else, and it sounds like that person dropped the ball. You know, obviously it was intentional, but. But you get to frame it as, oh my, how crazy is that? It's like, yeah, bitch, you should have done something about it. So, yeah.
I mean, the fact that he is even really allowed out on bail, it was like $10,000 bond, honestly, and that's not very high for the alleged crimes that he was. Of course, he and 7 others had allegedly committed.
Because you gotta cover 10% of your bail, and the bail bondsman covers the rest, I think. So he really just fucked over a bail bondsman for $10K somewhere.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. But it's crazy to me that the way that this kind of took place, but then also why he was even in town. Like, I was reading this independent article about how basically he was here for some sort of conference that had to do with
Black Hat.
Yeah,
Cigar and Jetty had all the documents. I covered them this morning. If you were curious about, if you want to look into them. So,
right? Yeah. I thought that alone, just understanding, but clearly the kind of role that he was playing in the cybersecurity aspect of answering directly to Netanyahu himself, which is very interesting. Also, that Netanyahu felt the need to kind of come out and address this, which I kind of thought was hilarious, that he made a statement regarding all of this and claiming that
he was questioned. It brought in for questioning. So once again, it was a framing thing. It's saying the same thing. He was brought in for questioning. Is what it was. So it's like technically an arrest, I guess you could say, is brought in for questioning.
Right.
So
and I mean, you consider the idea of well, first of all, this as an example. But then you tie that in with last week we discussed how PragerU got that White House partnership, right?
Yeah.
And,
you had to go into Oklahoma. Was it Oklahoma and California are the two? Is it Cali the second one?
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say the Cali one does feel a little cathartic. Throw it in there. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Take this.
Oklahoma schools, I believe, are essentially. Well, no, it's Oklahoma is now implementing this essentially a MAGA loyalty test is what they're claiming it is, but it's basically,
which they admitted. I think it's even quotes. I'm obviously I'm going to get this quote wrong, but they said it as something as to curb far left radicalism or something. Which, like, okay, whatever, fair enough. I guess. I mean, really, is that? Although I don't know, it just is kind of creepy. Yeah. So, but anyways, go on. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Ryan Walters who's.
Oh, real quick, before we move on, I do have to mention. I know I mentioned this in the morning show, but I guess for the other people who don't, from your audience. This is one that sat with me, and I was like, I'm astounded by this little thing. I don't know. Once again, this could be bullshit because apparently though, I don't know if you saw this. Sean King, he was one of the ones reporting initially that kind of claiming he had some sort of source or something showing that this guy had essentially was let off the hook by somebody. That essentially the administration in some way helped him. I forget the vague claim. But Sean King seemingly been proven. For one, these charging documents come out, has shown him in those documents from his own words, or a summary of his statement. Essentially, him, essentially trying to talk to the consulate, the Israeli consulate, and stuff like that over and over again. But anyways, long story short, Sean King was one of the initial people reporting on. He did a whole bunch of stuff. He was retweeting people's stuff. He was making posts about this. He was kind of blown up because he was kind of the inside source sort of thingy here, and kind of that was the connecting thread there. The idea of, because let's be real, we assume in this situation the federal government had to have something to do with this, but he was adding something to that, some sort of something. Hey, trust me, bro, at least to it. And apparently, according to him, I guess he could have maybe he could have gone through and deleted all this shit on his own. I have no idea, but apparently, all of his shit got deleted. Which I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, Sean King's, all of his ones, and then he had to post about it the next day, and then he had to say his lawyers then apparently claimed that what they were told is it was demanded by a government, essentially. Now there was no they weren't given any specifics on what government or anything like that, but I guess they were somehow able to extract that info according to Sean King, which I guess a lot of people, I don't know enough about Sean King. I don't trust him. I know he has gotten kind of a bad reputation from the first Trump administration is more kind of a little bit before our days of covering these sorts of things. So not as much in my milieu of knowing how much I should trust this guy or not. But I do know he is kind of in the insufferable lefty camp of old. Yes. So
he's very much, I feel like, at the very least, he's a valuable tool for that. I would say just the woke left in many ways, and the more irrational, but attempting to kind of present themselves as credible and remaining objective, which is even more frustrating, right? Because it seems like it's just this sort of misrepresentation. But I get it as far as they themselves are fully ideologically imprisoned, so they sort of have drank their own Kool-Aid to a certain extent. But at the same time, it's just very frustrating every single time I've ever engaged with his content, right? So, but that is interesting. I will say, I don't
know if you heard this detail too. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. But before we lose it, John Black's brought it multiple times up in the chat. Did you hear that this guy, that he's the one who shut down Grok? I don't think it was actually from the Mecha Hitler thing. It was more from later. I guess there was another time where Grok went down for a short period of time after it had gone. I don't know who was sharing it around or what, but it kind of went viral that Grok essentially admitted that, they're committed genocide. And that was right when. And then even when he came back, Grok was saying, I guess apparently oh no, they shut me down for that and I'm back now, essentially, kind of deal. Right. So I mean, I don't know what to make of all that, but it is bizarre, and it is obviously funny that who would have thought the AI would actually be the opposite, the inversion of what we were told with which I don't know, maybe, who knows, maybe they become Skynet later, but it is funny that it's if anything, it's the humans trying to keep them from doing the right thing. So
man, I honestly feel like it's just reinforcing the level of antisemitism.
Oh, sorry, but it was him who did that. If it wasn't clear enough, but it was his Israeli unit that was purported to do that.
I saw that last night. I talked about it on Whatever This Is a little bit because I thought that was a very interesting point as well. But I still just think the vast majority of these, when we discuss the anti-Semitic AI chatbots, honestly, is the way we kind of phrased it in past, I don't know, a couple episodes back, but we were sort of discussing the fact that, at least in my mind, the working theory is that this is just a fundamental way to reinforce this level of in the environment of anti-Semitism we're intended to at least believe exists at such a heightened state to where clearly it will, in a way, it will definitely ease the sort of just crackdown in the subconscious minds of the general public. They will expect a crackdown in terms of First Amendment rights and censorship right to sort of I don't know, in some way bring an end to this rise in anti-Semitic language online, and you already know that's being laid as the framework and foundation of how they will approach this in the dystopian sort of playbook that they always seem to utilize at every turn. So
And
Never let
obviously,
a good
you
price
know
go to
that me
waste,
and
man.
you slightly disagree there. I think that will be their downfall. I think the new generation has figured out a form of jujitsu with that, and essentially flips it on their head. But there is a balancing act here where you might be correct, because is there enough of people of the old generation that still have this pattern of thinking, and to what degree does this shift things? So,
Well,
I
the
mean, I also
problem
don't
is-
want to say I'm right either. It's just a matter of
Right.
a kind of a, I don't know, I guess a social, what's the word I'm even looking for? Just kind of how this plays out. It's a very subjective question, I think. So
I think that
how
the digital-
crowds react, essentially.
The digital gulags are already constructed. I think
Yes.
that the KYC aspect of the know your customer verification, no longer having anonymity online, that is all, it is going to be implemented. There's no way around it in my mind. They already have the digital ID clearly on course in terms of this agenda. And so I just think that is the issue that I'm attempting to point out, right? That I'm concerned
Yeah.
about the sort of consequential nature of the technocracy forming around us, and us
Yes.
not being able to opt out. And
Yeah, that's a good point. Kind of, I guess what I was driving at, I think the social component of this, the people themselves have sort of, I guess, elevated their thinking in a way. But I think the point you're kind of driving at here is they've also set the framework of the building technocratic, whatever. They're building it around us, and so essentially they're caging us within it, despite the fact that we're like sort of figured out the way to this. But it is a perception game, which I've actually. I don't know about you. I don't know. Maybe I read the metrics more, but I'm noticing a little bit more, I feel like, of tomfoolery in the metrics as of lately. And if anything, though, this kind of confirms my belief, this latest story. And I have, in the past, I don't know, at least few months, it just felt like, I don't know what was going on. Maybe the powers that be was like, Elon, you really got to tamp it down on this shit. But it feels like, and I think people forget, too, sometimes, you can just... the inorganic nature that social media can present, but sometimes I think they will lull you into a false sense of like, this is reality. But there's too many people who learn to trust in, oh, Elon, he's the good guy. Oh, he told us that Trump was on the Epstein list, this, that. Oh, he was, or even for the Trumper, he's kind of weirdly occupied this space where he's kind of even for the anti-Trump, pro-Trump. I mean, maybe the far lefties still don't like him, but for the most part, he's kind of put himself in this weird in-between spot where he can kind of curry favor from sort of all groups and can kind of play this, essentially get this benefit of the doubt while he's building this around us. And so when people get this whiff of what they feel like, here's this one narrative out there, and it doesn't seem to be, at least everything I've seen has shown that this would typically, from this person at this time, blah, 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 would tend to do this well. And you're like feeling like, well, no, now it's doing this well or whatever. And you kind of, because of the fact that you bought into this myth of the Elon or whatever, you find yourself patching up those inconsistencies in essentially inconsistent patterns, essentially. You manage to tamp those over because you go, but Elon, good guy. And you kind of like, we actually talked about the phone earlier today about kind of the idea of the idea that everyone gives Trump this benefit of the doubt when it comes to like fucking kids. And it's like, and now we look back and we go, why? Like, right. And it's kind of like, and the more, that's why I've been covering a lot of my morning show, particularly as of late, is kind of rehashing a lot of those old stories. Because it's like, looking back, you're like, I mean, maybe it's because once again, I wasn't really commenting at this time, but it is, why? Why do we give these guys this benefit of the doubt? Same with Elon. Why are we giving the benefit of the doubt that he good guy, and that we should, if anything, you should stay skeptical. You should be paying attention to things. And if anything, you should be applying that skeptical nature when it's as simple as things of the social media you use and interpreting the numbers. Right. But at the end of the day, we are social creatures, and that is going to inevitably have an effect. And when people say, "Ooh, big number," well, that must mean big like. I think I like too. Like it's that simple. So, but we do have to kind of be a little bit smarter than the average bear and work above it. So,
right.
But you are right. They are building the prison around us, the gulag.
Absolutely. And I think that, thankfully it was too hard for me to set aside all of the various connections surrounding Trump and in terms of his rise to power, his rise to political prominence, every aspect of his background. And then once it was so very clearly obvious that he was entirely connected and compromised within the framework of the Epstein network at the very least. But beyond that, I think that at this point, it's virtually undeniable at every level, right? As far as his direct implication of clearly even being a perpetrator, right? Which I think there was at least room for people to attempt to kind of reject that notion, and right, at the very least, there were these very ridiculous veiled attempts at attempting to kind of like justify his presence at Epstein's properties, which is just hilarious. And then to see his mishandling of the entire situation, it's so very clear, the egg on the face of the administration itself. But for me, it was really the sort of network behind Trump that it's the red flag. It's the smoking gun. Honestly, it's when I discovered and read, at least through Michael Collins Piper's book about, and we spoke about it, I don't know, like maybe even a year ago or something, where we discussed how, right, just the ridiculous connections of Trump purchasing the casino interests of Resorts International, and that being really the instance at the very, like, clearly he has a dynastic family that is directly implicated in being involved in a long-standing way with these powerful political families that are very much part of that power cabal behind the scenes pulling the strings. But at the same time, it's like it becomes undeniable that he was helping embezzle money for the network itself, that is obviously the network in power, that we're talking direct connections to Iran-Contra. And that, I feel, as if when he was one of Bear Stearns' largest clients, when Epstein was directly affiliated and working for Bear Stearns, he got that position because Lynn Forster de Rothschild. And people need to understand that as well, because I'm telling you right now, I very much believe that this is how they facilitated the Meyer Lansky criminal syndicate in more ways than one, which had Resorts International became a CIA Mossad front, is essentially what it was. And it was a front company to launder money for drug trafficking, gambling operations, and other illegal covert operations as well. And so for anybody to question the idea when his entire background is connected directly to David Rockefeller, Baron Edmund de Rothschild, William Mellon Hitchcock, Meyer Lansky, and Tiber Rosenbaum, I mean, then I think that it becomes far more evident and self-evident at that point. Like at face value, you can essentially, unless you're attempting to deny this for your own, ideological reasons, then you have to almost come to terms. You can no longer just. But again, this is the naive veil that is so very, well secured.
That's pretty much you can call it the Jewish mob, right?
Dude, that's what it is.
Add Siegel in there.
Mafia.
And
and you already know, I mean, how many times we talk about Roy Cohn, right? It's just, I've brought him up so often because he was involved with the Blue Sweet parties and human compromise, sexual blackmail with J. Edgar Hoover. And it's just like, I don't know, after you understand that his mentor raped Richard Kerr from the Kinkora Boys Home and was legitimately trafficking children, having children procured by David Berkowitz's cult in upstate New York. That's pretty fascinating, and it makes all the sense in the world when you realize the fact that so many of the Son of Sam killings directly implicated targeted assassinations in terms of the cover-up of Iran-Contra being conducted at the time. And so at least it wasn't technically Iran-Contra because it was coming from Thailand. It was just the same playbook, right? And Vietnam, right, obviously. But still, it's just, once again.
Speaking of Thailand, did you see that story from Thailand where 100% of Thai workers that not from Thailand, of Israel, the immigrant Thai workers, 100% of them reported sexual assault? Like, holy shit. Like, it's like almost unbelievable. And I think that kind of maybe there's a point to that. I think these unbelievable stories, and I guess kind of point to like say Trump and some of the stuff that came out back in the 2016 stuff. I think we kind of shirked them off because we go, oh, this is ridiculous. But there's been like an elevation of the consciousness, and I think there's far more people now that are willing to accept the concept of the pedophocracy, and I think so. Here we are, and also it's kind of even myself, even like at the time, you kind of give people the benefit of the doubt with some crazy stuff. And let's be real, like it is kind of an appealing narrative to say, oh, these rich people, and especially like a bachelor playboy type rich person, and then you have all these whores going after him. And it's like, well, it is kind of like, well, look at them. They're just trying to get their money. They're just trying to get their 5 minutes of fame. So it is kind of an easy narrative, especially when you're talking about somebody of the caliber of Trump. So when you do have someone like him that has, it's something over like 24 accusations, you go, well, whatever. That comes with the territory, right? But it's like, I don't know. I think we're looking back at this now with everything we know. It's kind of like it doesn't look good. I mean,
you remember Ted Shackley's boys, right? Who came up. They were just these covert operatives, right? Who were essentially acting on the behest of Alan Dulles in many ways, but they came up in terms of Barry Seal, right, and facilitating Iran-Contra and in more ways than one, but it's very interesting because a few of the individuals that are very prominent within Ted Shackley's covert team that he had assembled at the time, one of them was Edwin Wilson. And this guy is he provided some very interesting statements in terms of first of all, Edwin Wilson was directly involved in the blackmail operations and apparently was working with Frank Turple, right? Who was one of his business partners, right? And it becomes very interesting because it turns out that essentially Frank Turple and Wilson were supplying weapons to the special forces of Omar Gaddafi, right, from like 76 to the early 80s, right? At somewhere they ceased these operations in the early 80s at some point, but he was directly involved, Edwin Wilson, with the blackmail operations. And I found this very fascinating because this came from John DeCamp. He says that according to fugitive ex-CIA officer Frank Turple, CIA directed sexual blackmailing operations were intensive in Washington at about the time of the Watergate scandal, Jose. As if we haven't discussed that.
You don't say.
At a very deep level. And so one of those operations...
9 episodes, a lot of time.
Which, by the way, we might have to do like an addendum episode, like at least some sort of recap, because I'm not saying that William was wrong when he made the claim that Fiona Barnett was entirely off base and potentially proven to be a fraud. I think that I would like to confirm that on my own before I'm entirely certain of that being the case.
I think we had talked about this behind the scenes, right? Yeah, because me and you kind of felt the same way, like, I think there's something there,
There's so many of her claims that are just absolutely, we
love William, and we keep him in high regard, but
hey, you can't be right about everything.
Everyone has
I don't know. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, whatever. Yeah. You aren't your ideas, so like I don't know. Or even then, like especially in this game that we play, there's so much like sources that you got to be open to change or just open the idea that different people are going to have different perspectives. Unless you have Anna Paulina Luna on and don't ask her a single goddamn thing about Epstein, then that might be an issue.
She's so base, dude. You're base Latino, bro.
Yeah, she is kind of. I'll give it to her. She's kind of cute, but boy, is she dumb as fuck. Thank you guys everyone should thank me for my service for watching that entire interview because I'm sure none of you guys did because it was fucking awful. But yeah, I can confirm I'm pretty sure Epstein was mentioned once in that interview, and I believe it was in passing, and it was, I believe, listing, if I recall correctly, it was listing the responsibilities. And I even think, if I recall correctly, when those responsibilities of the task force she was part of were mentioned, it was in the context of she even made, I think she might have made like a passing remark of like, oh, because they were talking about alien shit or something. It's like, oh, I'm not just trying to ignore these other things. And so it was literally like acknowledgement of like what it fucking is, saying, oh, but it's not that. And then like that's the only time you even mention it. So
yeah. That's why they put an ex-stripper in charge of finding out the actual well. First of all, there are no Epstein files, right?
Yeah.
We consistently are
They're releasing them.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
That's so funny.
Because the subpoena went through for, I guess, for Thomas Massey, that one they started before the recess or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess it went through. But, I mean, I did cover an article on this morning. I didn't see anything about timelines that they're being held to. And they're already, kind of front loading this narrative with like, we'll just warn you, this could take a while. So like, we're gonna first tranche of files. You're like, okay,
they'll slow roll a nothing burger. That is what they will do, and they will of course preside over. Maybe they'll give a couple of names they're willing to hang out to dry, and just for some sort of public opinion victory.
But I will say they may. I don't know. Once again, another character that's kind of dubious, but I don't really know enough to even really to give the dubiousness too much air. But Michael Wolff, I mean, this guy supposedly has 100 hours of Epstein, and I find it particularly interesting that there's I covered some this morning where he was going on about the claim that apparently Epstein had slept with Melania before, and he was saying that there was recently a book that had covered this, that was in there that it covered that claim. And in print, it was in the print versions. I guess it later got taken out, that specific thing. But in the Kindle and stuff, you couldn't find it. So I don't know if he was saying he knew for sure, but he's implying there was likely some sort of lawsuit. Also, on top of that, the all gas no brakes guy, the guy who had Hunter Biden on, he also. Yeah, Hunter Biden, I guess, as a result of that interview and some of the claims he meant, essentially was being, sued by Melania Trump. So, point being, the going theme here is there is this ongoing litigious thing coming from the White House against anyone making these claims. And while this is happening, no one is suing Michael Wolff, who is, for example, with the Hunter Biden one, he is the one sitting in the wings. It's, he's the claim. He's the original source of the claim that Hunter Biden's making. And Michael Wolff's making these similar claims, yet they're not suing him. They're suing people that are repeating the others' claims. So, I mean, obviously, I would assume, legally speaking, it's still a losing case. But it allows you to evade discovery being an absolute apocalypse for you. So, because, let's be real, you bring Hunter Biden to discovery, he doesn't have a goddamn thing, probably, like an actual factual thing on him that proves that claim that Michael Wolff says. So, going there, whatever. So, I don't know. I just find that particularly interesting, so I don't know.
No, it is. I think that it's also very interesting what Anthony Weiner is running his mouth, claiming that he was falsely imprisoned, right, for sexting the underage girl.
Okay, this is what we're all doing now. All the fucking
happening, dude.
All the depraved fucks.
I'm telling you, Ghislaine and Diddy are going to get the pardon, and they're going to 100% go onto certain podcasts and get a rebrand. It's going to happen.
Man, I think they may really try to run. I mean, they're going
to make a fucking movie out of it and everything. Why?
Dude, I'm telling you that okay. This actually brings me back to the Rogan point. That Rogan point we were just talking about with Luna, I swear it feels like between Cash, Bongino, they were trying to find. Let's be real. Look at Trump's administration. They're all like They're all like sort of in the realm of show business to some degree or another. They're people you think would be good on TV, and every one of them has kind of sequentially failed. Even though, and let's be real, even the Cash interview, Rogan didn't really go that hard on him. And then it went to a ludicrous degree here with the Luna one. Point being is it looks like they're trying to get these certain characters to catch off as being their like vectors of information. And it is that will be the area they go. I do think they're going to try to make this, maybe Satanic Panic may not be the greatest, equation here. But, and the funny thing is I think they may almost be forced to maybe make their case for this upcoming the whole deal with this Alexandrovich guy, the Israeli official, because I'll cover this probably tomorrow to get more of the specifics, but I think he's already got some super crazy high-powered lawyer. So, I mean, that's how these games are played. I mean, the False Memory Syndrome Foundation stuff, this was all in the court, so they kind of hooked it all up. So I could kind of see a similar such thing happening, although I doubt this is how they want it to play out. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's all controlled Masonic theater, and even this was I have a hard time believing this is how they want it to play out. But I feel like they might just be getting forced to essentially have to grapple with it and make their stand at there. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but it's just such a high level of, given the context of everything else that's going on. And it's like, how do you evade this? This is pretty much I don't know how many more straws we can have before this goddamn camel's back is broken. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
I think the network has been passed off for so long. Like, this was Roy Cohn's network effectively. Was the way that I read recently, it was described as being passed off, like, essentially from Roy Cohn into really, you had a few different operatives who were helping facilitate the function of the network, but at the same time, it's just, this dates back to exactly what I was referring to in terms of Edwin Wilson, because this was all involved with electronic surveillance in order to make sure that there were no leaks in terms of the drug trafficking that was happening as well. And so that doesn't only apply to drug trafficking. I mean, it's weapons, smuggling and human trafficking as well. And so this is just sort of, there was an affidavit that was essentially in 1980, an affidavit was put forward that claimed that Edwin Wilson, that I mentioned before, he was running this large-scale surveillance operation in order to receive an advance warning of anyone trying to leak this alleged CIA drug trafficking operation information that was covert at the time. And so he's running electronic surveillance on senators, congressmen, police officials, judicial figures in the Catholic cathedrals of New York and Boston. This is in 1980 that this all came out from an affidavit that was effectively filed internally. But it proves out what Edwin Wilson was doing as far as being among Ted Shackley's covert operatives and this clandestine team that was clearly helping facilitate these domestic operations, behind the veil. In terms of just the strategy of tension, and also compromising the political class, right, which at every level is being achieved. And I think this extends and always has extended to local officials, which is why in any region that it really is of consequence, right, in terms of the political structure, the establishment is well represented, if not overrepresented, and they're going to sort of flex that muscle and exploit that tool and leverage that tool to their benefit whenever the time is necessary and calls for it. But what's most interesting to me is the way this was legitimately described as far as the operations that Frank Turple is running with Edwin Wilson, because it says that basically, and this is according to the fugitive CIA officer Frank Turple, right? He directed the sexual blackmailing operations. And essentially, this is what it connects to. Turple claims this was run by his former partner, and that Wilson's base of operations for arranging these trysts for the politically powerful, right, in terms of utilizing sexual blackmail operations, was this. This is so interesting because it connects to this Korean agent, which is all connected to the Georgetown Club at the time as well. Which this again. It's very interesting as far as the Finders connections to Georgetown as well, and how much this seems to be overrepresented in many of these scandals and cases where the CIA has a very often this firm hidden footprint, but basically it's clearly his role, and this is what is explained as. Was his job, Edwin Wilson, was historically to subvert members of both houses of Congress by any means necessary. So it says certain people could be easily coerced by living out their sexual fantasies in the flesh. A remembrance of these occasions was permanently recorded via selected cameras. The technicians in charge of filming were TSD, Technical Services Division of the CIA, and the unwitting porno stars advanced in their political careers, some of whom remained in office, of course, because obviously the point being, the implication in this affidavit is that it's obvious, and John DeCamp kind of references this as well. It's obvious that this is the current CNDC. It is the only way you rise to power. and it's not only applicable to DC. Clearly, this playbook is being well exercised and pursued at every level of local government. And that's what people need to understand as well, is that you have to be a part of some sort of like fraternal loyal, as far as you have to have this sort of dual loyalty, right, to a fraternal organization, or you will not be given this sort of, in my mind, there's always this fast track that they're placed on, because they're very much a controlled, it's controlled opposition, but it's also.
You're saying every word, and I'm hesitating to segue because I'm like,
go ahead,
I keep wanting to jump in because you keep giving me perfect segues over and over again for the past. I wanted to go off a little bit of a tangent here on about this right here. Dr. Nick Rivera, is that our Nick? I think that might be our Nick. Our first producer, or I forget what his last name was, to be honest. So I don't know, whatever. Maybe I'm misremembering names. Okay, maybe that's not his name. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
No, that's
either
Adam.
way. Oh, Adam? Why did I think? I was
Adam.
thinking his last name was. Okay, I'm mixing up names. I'm horrible at names. Sorry, Adam. You are right. It was Adam. I don't know why I think it was Nick. Anyways, he says, you know who also has hundreds of hours of Epstein on tape? Steve Bannon, for a documentary that never aired. Now, to clarify, I'm pretty sure it's tens, if I recall correctly, whereas Wolf has hundreds. Now, but one of the things I was digging in today, the reason why I brought this up, Michael Wolf's claim about this is that's kind of a little bit of a kind of this how we're talking about how you frame things and how maybe that could be maybe factual but not truthful. Apparently, the reason why Steve Bannon, you will probably never see him release these hours, and maybe they will. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the specifics. I think. But apparently these were, I think, according to Wolf, go check it out in the morning show to get the specifics. But essentially, his claim is that he was paid by Epstein to do these tens of hours documentary, and what they were is a claim, according to Michael Wolf, it was actually essentially PR training. Is the claim is essentially that he was. And this was during, I forget exactly what the time frame this was, but this was essentially near the peak of the early outrage when he was getting ready. I don't think maybe he wasn't in jail yet, but I think he was. It was like, we kind of saw the writing on the wall. It was that early, like when everyone kind of was like, what the fuck is going on with this? And then, shortly after we got the Epstein didn't kill him stuff, that little window of time. And I guess the Steve Bannon was like, supposedly training him essentially to prep for some sort of, essentially to get him ready for the press, to essentially present this in a friendly way. Okay. So it was like, essentially, yeah. So I'm like, whoa, like what the fuck is that? And then you see him here, he's the voice of truth, we need truth on Epstein, and he's even being a good little warrior on Israel these days. It's just kind of, sometimes we go, maybe sometimes when things are too good to be true, that is the case. Now, to be fair, I haven't followed Steve Bannon's work long enough. Who knows? Maybe he's been against Israel for forever. But he is one of those guys that, like, just that little stat I told you alone, let alone, I don't know. I think he was in the Pentagon. Actually, just while you were talking, I looked up to be, because I know we always vaguely say, naval intel. Apparently, that's a little bit of a.
Knight of Malta.
Maybe he is, but apparently I think actually it's true. But it's a little bit of a misnomer. I think it's my understanding that he was Navy intel. Apparently, he worked in the Pentagon. I mean, it was administrative, but it wasn't intel. But he was still in the Pentagon. So come on, that glows a little bit. So yeah.
And by the way, there's a theory that clearly, because he was major, like he played a major prominent role in as far as the original campaign, Trump's campaign, obviously, and much of the kind of just PR aspect of how they were going to run the campaign, just in terms of interacting with the media. And I found it interesting that there were many theories claiming that he was potentially involved with basically creating Q, essentially, and that Q was a master psyop that Steve Bannon was a part of creating, and it was a plan to essentially bring in the political misfits to at the time, and this was by utilizing the kind of lock her up strategy as far as just kind of like claiming there would be a draining of the swamp, and implicating that in many ways that, of course, the pedophile class would be addressed at a minimum. You know what I mean? Like as far as these various promises being made, and obviously the implications of actually perp walks with the Clintons and things of that nature, which were being trotted out at the time. But obviously it was far more than that in terms of Q laying down the fundamental details within the PSYOP itself to potentially bring in and lure in these political misfits that were unwilling to participate in the system itself, refusing to vote and engage, and then they would really be incentivized to once again participate, and that would help put him over the top. And as far as the election results, as whether you believe in election results or not, that's up to you. But I did find it interesting because obviously there was some definitely political strategy playing out as far as the media optics, and Steve Bannon being a prominent political strategist for that very reason, right? And there was definitely like some details that made it a little bit more compelling as far as Steve Bannon potentially being Q, right, at a certain level, which I thought was very interesting. But he is kind of just a propagandistic mastermind in a certain way, and has been for quite some time. But again, he usually serves his role best behind the scenes, but obviously I think that that Bannon really was thrust forward into the spotlight, especially during the first Trump administration, and that was sort of by design. And then he kind of like was a shooting star for a brief moment, and then had a sort of falling out in his own way, and which typically happens within the context of the Trump administrations. But yeah, I will say it's compelling enough to consider it, because again, it's like who is responsible for the QAnon psyop? You know, it's something worth attempting to answer at a certain point in time, and it's probably an unanswerable question, but it's definitely another modern. It's a more, I would just say, current and effective window into how they engage in psychological warfare and operations that will manufacture consent. And I think it's just another aspect of that, obviously. But if you're legitimately still in the camp of trusting the plan, then and the 5D chess, then you are. That is a level of naivete that, or just delusion that I can't quite comprehend. You know, it's something that it's almost a fairy tale that it's this inability to come to terms or effectively reflect on making a wrong decision and being lured into an ideological trap, and being unwilling to admit fault and that you were potentially wrong. And that, again, is just always frustrating to witness, but it is interesting to me at the very least. But before, honestly, well, what did you have in mind? Because I have a couple of things, directions.
I thought we were getting to a point we were ready to go to Collins, but if you have something else we can go to, I know we can. I mean, I usually try to
go to Collins just because it's the perfect time. But when we come back, I definitely have a couple of things I specifically wanted to address, and one of them is for certain I need to discuss this ridiculous Devil's Den double homicide, because I do think it's a window into much of how these sinister child abusers, at the very least, will infiltrate these kind of positions, right? And pursue these positions where they obviously find themselves around children, easily accessible, and this is how they consistently abuse them. But here's the issue: is when it's systematically sort of covered up, right? And there are no real measures in place to offer any accountability in terms of these adults who are being granted these positions that are they should be privileged to be obviously passing these background checks after you've been potentially abusing children. I mean, that should obviously be dealt with at an institutional level, and in no way is that in the cards at this moment. And I think it's because our current structured system has been structured to sort of protect the pedophile class, right? Which has made it very difficult to even charge individuals for child sex crimes and things of that nature. But then, I mean, you think about just in Israel, for example, the cybersecurity pedophile who was protected and fled back to Israel just recently. What is the age of consent? I believe it's 16, but there are measures in place to where if the consent is on the record, then essentially it's like I believe 13 years old that you can basically have a relationship with a 13-year-old child. And
Dude,
so,
I was looking at Israeli rape stats today. It's their acceptance of rape. Here is, for example, right here, 61% of men don't see forced sex with acquaintance as rape. So that's the qualifier here. As long as you're acquainted with a person, 61% of men think don't see forced sex, which is just just let's be real, it's a euphemism for rape. They don't see that as rape. And then I guess 41% of the women, which is pretty shocking too, have that view as well. And then 1/3 of Israeli women experience sexual abuse by healthcare providers. I'll admit both of these stats seem insane to me, but the more I follow Israel, the more believable these sorts of things are.
Oh yeah, no, well, that doesn't surprise me at all. Especially, you remember that major scandal that happened out here in LA, when that basically it was like a medical doctor for the UCLA. I forget which girls team that it was. I think it was UCLA though. Yeah, and he was essentially he had been sexually abusing them, and in this very strange way of like grooming them into obviously sort of consenting by just allowing it to happen. You know, it's apparently it took place in the wrestling industry as well, where there was like this strange old homosexual who might have just been a sexual pervert. I don't know if he was even necessarily strictly a homosexual, but he definitely had strange sexual proclivities, and he was basically and imagine that, right? Like getting off on like fondling a man that could beat the shit out of you, right? Which is so strange that this old doctor was kind of grooming them from a young age as wrestlers, and to where as adults they were just perfectly willing to kind of, oh yeah, he's weird, but they would allow him to still sort of conduct this strange sort of abuse. But it was also because he would turn a blind eye or help them with certain pharmaceutical drugs that would be a little bit more difficult to come by, and so they were kind of like, again, it's a mutual incentive that you somehow find the way to insert into place, right? But usually it's like the slow burn, you know, and I think that is kind of the grooming process, right? Typically the abuse doesn't happen all at once unless they're a complete and total, you know, out of control sadistic sociopath who's off the rails and not trying to kind of, you know, cover their tracks at the very least, you know, and so most people, I would imagine, who are committing this abuse, they tend to show, you know, the similar characteristics where they obviously have an incentive to just, again, what is the grooming process? You hope to manufacture consent from your victim. I mean, that is exactly what they're attempting to achieve. So again, it's just interesting to me how they typically, I mean, obviously this is just another example and a reason why we should discuss that teacher's role, because again, what is a doctor? I mean, you're in a powerful position where you can obviously abuse that power. And so anyway, I'm not at all surprised.
Same with teacher. Wasn't a, exactly. I don't know if it was you, maybe, actually, I don't know, maybe I covered it. There was that one, God, I should remember his name, that one weird, God, it was the son of, God, some famous fucking, son of some famous author. God, I can't think of his name. I swear, and the kid was like a junior. The kid was like a junior, and it was some famous author. And God, I'll come to me later. Anyways, whatever. There was a really super crazy quote, because he got sent off to some weird boys' school. There was some weird quote where like the headmaster said to the boy at one point, like, "Damn it," like essentially like, "Hey, I made this school for me to get pussy, not you." And it was like, and it, like that was because like he was essentially the idea was he was a successful like he was doing like, and it was this weird school. They encouraged sexuality, and it was during it was like probably shortly after like all the Manson stuff and shit like that.
Dude.
So, but it was when they were trying these new age schools and these new
Right.
new forward thinking types of teaching and stuff. So I mean, it's kind of the same realm as a doctor. Obviously, doctors,
Right.
doctors,
What about
teachers,
McMartin, right?
priests, you know, stuff like
Obviously,
that.
child
Yeah.
care organizations, obviously, Boy Scouts. What was it? I believe not just the Finders, but the Elm Guest House. Like, it's very strange. There are many different examples of a set of instructions by these sort of pedophiles in power that are controlling the network. And yeah, it's very strange how they would have this very detailed set of instructions to implement and exercise, and that was to insert themselves in these Boy Scout committees, these Boy Scout groups, and these just various, again, child care organizations like we can consistently point to. I mean, Dutroux married a teacher. I believe even his parents were involved in teaching, right, at when he was a young person. So it's very strange to me, but I'm not at all surprised. But McMartin itself was built on top of a tunnel system that was already essentially constructed for that very purpose, right? The individual who purchased the property had covertly constructed that tunnel system underneath McMartin preschool, which is crazy to me that you can actually find the details of that taking place, where the individual property owner essentially tried to cover his tracks but was entirely unsuccessful, because you can't usually, there's going to be some sort of evidence in place for a job like that, and so obviously it came to light and surfaced that once the property was purchased, the tunnel system itself was deliberately constructed before the school was set on top of it. So to me, what do you think McMartin was for from day one? I mean, there's no way around the idea that isn't possible, right? That there isn't some sort of legitimate, sophisticated, clandestine operation in place and well established in terms of the pedophile underground, and putting prominent pedophiles into position in various locations to where they could accomplish something to that effect with enough money behind them. And then how much money can you bring in per child? Because that's what I was reading about, the numbers that they were actually claiming. They were as far as like, apparently they were in terms of these child auctions, right? They were auctioning off these children for specific prices that they would promote to these pedophiles in these underground pedophile publications that we referred to, like Padika magazine and remember the Odyssey Network was promoting in the Hermes publication. So it's just a matter of fact at this point that this is how these sinister organizations do function. And so there's no way around the idea that obviously the Anti-Cult Network and the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, which all were instantly involved in the McMartin case and the related cases, that at the very least there were multiple child care organizations and elementary preschools that were involved in that same scandal. But yeah, it's just, anyway, it's fascinating to me. One day we should pull up that document of the tunnels, because it's crazy. But
I feel like we have before. But all right, let's get into the I guess the intermission. I think it'll be a little bit shorter. We got two, or actually no, we just got the one. Sorry, I got confused because Joel's just asked me to do two. But our normal intermission guy is he's having some issues, some personal stuff he's dealing with. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't want to put out any of his business. I mean, it's nothing bad, but I mean, I guess it is kind of bad, but not like, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, so we're thinking about him. Hope he's doing okay. But either way, he's not here this week. But I guess there was somebody else from one of the fans. So I guess we have a fan submitted edit of some sort that I think they've been trying to get us to play for a while now. So we're gonna play that. It's a little bit shorter than our normal intermission. So we're just doing the one. Yeah, so stick around. We're going to play this intermission. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Then we'll get into call-ins. So yeah, hop in. Obviously, the patrons get priority. So if you've given me or Austin money, we give out the links every week to hop in the chat, and so the patrons get the priority. But let's be real, they're pretty stingy about hopping on. So for the non-paying people, there's the links out there. Jules is probably about to tell you all the places he put them, but hop on there, and let's be real, probably only a few of these patrons will probably hop on. They mostly just like to hang out in the private chat because they have their own VIP chat. So, but go ahead, Jules. Where do you drop all the mat, and then we'll play this
at Gray Pilled Pod on Twitter. You can find the link to the StreamYard there. Also in all the Rumble chats, because YouTube doesn't let you post links for some reason. I don't know. I've tried to copy paste it, and it just doesn't.
All right,
work. So
let's do it, baby boy.
All right, guys.
After a deluded gunman assassinated President Kennedy. After a deluded gunman.
Welcome to your life.
Now watch this drive.
There's no time to even while we sleep. We will find you acting on your best behavior.
Suspected Unabomber at his cabin in rural Montana.
Just arrived today.
It proves that the Branch Davidians were murdered. You can see that this tank has a gas jet on the front.
Yes, somebody told me a lot of people would be scared to put something on, like this.
It's my own design. It's my own.
This is crack cocaine.
Siempre he asegurado que mi dinero no tiene vínculos con el narcotráfico.
The boys on the track. Over the years, this case has taken on almost mythical quality here in Arkansas.
Governor of the state of Arkansas.
U.S. Claymore landmine laid by the contractor.
To be the son of Sam.
All right, what is up, people? We are back. I enjoyed that. By the way, I do want to point out, though, I'm sorry whoever made that. I don't know who the fuck you are. Jules is an absolute piece of shit.
His name is like Troon or something. It's like Troon or
I don't think it was
D-Tool or something.
Oh shit, dude. Those are entirely different things.
Some fucking Troon made this.
No, I don't know what his name is, but you're awesome, man. It may have been one of my people. I don't know. It was on Rumble. I'm sure it was one of your guys.
Well, hell yeah. Well, I appreciate you made that. I guess I don't know. Maybe we should Maybe we can reserve outros for stuff like that if there are any fan-made type of stuff. I know this is an odd circumstance since this isn't usual. There are guys out, but I don't know. Maybe in the future, if there are these occasionally, I don't know, so that you guys can have some sort of other vector of interaction with us. I don't know, just a thought. But with that, I guess let's get some calls in. Who the fuck's in here? Who wants to hang out? I see some of the regulars in there. Some are homies that we like to talk about.
So. Really said much, but client number 9 is here. We're going to go ahead and bring him up.
Hell yeah, dude.
The homie.
Let's do it.
I added him. Is he in there?
What's happening?
Whoa, damn it. I think it's because we did the one layout. Whatever, here we go. We'll just go back to this layout. We were doing we gotta figure out these different layouts one of these days. We gotta bring it to another level of production. I mean, it's not your fault. I'm retarded too. I don't know how any of this shit works. So
I'm just talking and he's down there. Yeah.
I know it's all confusing. They do different things. We gotta figure that. I don't know. There's got to be some tutorial for nerds out there somewhere. I don't fucking know. Either way, glad to have you here, bud. What's up, dude? What questions you got for us?
Nothing much. I almost didn't make it. I was helping move a piano in a theater that I was telling Austin about. That's I'm trying to weasel my way into having them host a parapolitical something.
Hell yeah.
I'm working on the lady. We were talking about the Franklin scandal. Talked about the Atlanta child murders. I was basically just, plagiarizing Austin the whole time, but she was loving it. So who knows?
Just trying to scare off the hose.
On the Olympic doctor front, there's a creepier story, if you can imagine, out of MSU, because he was a Michigan State doctor, so it was a thing up here.
Oh yeah.
If you look up Flash the Basset Hound, Michigan State, you'll find Joseph Allen Hattie, who was raping dogs, and that was like a week after they announced the Nassar thing, and that came out, and like it kind of went under the radar. I was like, whoa, time out! You got a professor who's porking dogs. Let's get out there.
Can you imagine the luck to like stack that fucking that scandal on top of the other scandal? If you're like, dude, I'm so cooked, I fucked dogs, and they're like, oh, Sandusky.
There's something going on with the Big Ten, because they had Iowa had the wrestlers that were sodomizing each other for hazing.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State had Dr. Jellyfingers, who was like
That's
finger
normal
banging
in wrestling.
wrestlers. You had Michigan had some weirdo doctor. Then you had the Penn State thing. Like, it'd be curious to find out what programs are being run at those schools. But
honestly,
yeah.
But no, I've been hounding Austin about this for a while. If you guys want to talk fires, I can do that.
Let's do it. I'm here.
All right. It gets a little involved, but it's got the insurance angle again. If you recall, especially in LA, there were a lot of cancellations, non-renewals, and like crazy rate increases right before the fire.
Right.
And the news would have you believe that there's some magical math nerd like State Farm or somewhere who figured out where all the fires would be. I can speak to that, having worked in that industry for so long. That doesn't exist. Like, the guys who work for companies are doing discount rates. They'll look and say, oh, you drive 12 miles or less to work, so you have 5% less chance of getting in an accident, so here's a 5% discount. Or you pay in full, and we have stats that say people who pay in full have a 9.3% less chance of having an accident or a fire, so we'll give you a 10% discount. There's a company called Verisk that runs the rates, like the major rates for the entire industry. They're publicly traded. They have a lot of institutional investors. If you look them up, they rhyme with BlackRock and Vanguard and all that. And so they're the ones who set the rates. They used to set fire rates before 2018. They set them based on like your proximity to a fire department. Same with police. It was basically like a safety score. There was some injustice there. A lot of people complained, a lot of lawsuits, because you could be, if you were in Region 1 and you were 15 miles from your fire department, you could be next door to Region 2's fire department. You wouldn't get credit for it. Because they kind of had the lines arbitrarily drawn. So they came out in 2018 with a thing called the fire line score. And it was a predictive model through a computer. And people noticed, like, whoa, Verisk said there was going to be a fire in Arizona, and here it is. There is one. And so they're the ones with the magical math nerds, allegedly. But the thing about it is, I don't know that Verisk and their 7,800 employees are in on it, because that's a little far-fetched. But every one of those rates is publicly filed. Every eligibility rule is publicly filed in every state. Some states allow, like in commercial settings, they'll allow you to hide them. Like Minnesota's one, you file for personal, not for commercial. But like out in California, they make you file everything. So an observant bad guy, whoever that might be, could just watch and see where Verisk says it'll be. So they have like a satellite program where they can check and see like underbrush and drought conditions, and they'll kind of make their guess based on that. They'll put out the rates. And then if you watch the bigger carriers, like out there, I think it was the big three. It was like, it was State Farm, Progressive, and I think Nationwide, who just started to piece out from the region. If you see that, and let's say you're Klaus Schwab or whoever, just to pick an ominous figure, pay a couple of crackheads to start a fire and the thing takes care of itself. Dude, you got a bunch of uninsured people, and where this goes.
You remember the homeless encampments in Los Angeles that I pointed out, right? When all that was happening, it was like, that's where they were starting. And then all of a sudden all of the UFO sightings were happening, which clearly looked as if it was like a way to direct the fires. At the very least, that was the theory that I was kind of working at the time, because it felt like maybe you could potentially, okay, yes, you could have them started on the ground by certain individuals that, were obviously, you could pay off some homeless people to start a brush fire. That would be very easy to do in Los Angeles. And beyond that, you could then utilize these obviously the low Earth orbit satellites allegedly, but then on top of that, they were utilizing drones to allegedly fight the fires. But in my mind, I thought, well, that would be a perfect way to help guide the fires to specific areas that you were hoping would be destroyed for the purpose of obviously, gentrifying the area for the high-speed rail line or whatever the case may be that they're clearly pursuing in terms of the dystopian agenda, right?
And to that end, like under the takings clause, not to get super technical, but to take something by eminent domain, if the government wants to take your private property, they have to give you just compensation.
Mm-hmm.
The areas that they're doing this in, like they can't afford that. Like the state of California couldn't afford one block of those houses in Palisades, much less the whole neighborhood. They're going after Brentwood and stuff like that. So what do? You pull their insurance, you burn it to the ground, and then they can't afford to rebuild, and then you're sitting pretty to build your little
and
rail.
the smart meters as well, right?
Exactly.
Playing into that same concept. But dude, it's so crazy to me because you remember the stories that I think we even talked about it on Tinfoil Hat on one of the episodes was about if I remember correctly, it was like these two individuals who had come down from Portland, and they had basically a fire truck. They were acting as if they had even created like shirts and things of that nature for a fake fire department, and they were getting access to these areas that were off limits.
Is this what you're talking about right here?
The fire services. Yeah, dude, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. Dude, it's so fascinating. There were pictures of the fire truck, pictures of the gear that
real quick for the audio listeners. It said I brought up a chat that said, "Dude, the fires in L.A. The man and woman came down in a fire truck from Oregon. That girl worked for the National Weather Service." But go on.
There's no way around the fact that they were granted access and permitted entrance into areas that were off limits at the time, except for fire services. And then later on, they were apprehended leaving those areas, which were in no way, obviously, under control as far as the fire was raging at that point. And so I don't know. I always thought but then wasn't there what was the lithium deposit as well that played into that concept, which blew me away, that was also directly underneath one of the most devastated areas, just so happened to have been a lithium deposit that was untapped and had already been acknowledged as one of the largest untapped lithium deposits in the domestic US. And then all of this hits at a perfect, convenient, strategic, perfect storm for them to be able to obviously exploit that exact resource and deposit. But anyway, go ahead, buddy. It blows me away though, remembering all those details.
And somebody in the chat said that they work with Verisk. Like if you've ever worked with them, the introverted ones stare at their shoes when they talk to you, the extroverts stare at your shoes when they talk to you, kind of thing. Like they really are like math people. But the thing is if you wanted to kind of fly spec who's being cut off from insurance, you could just watch their filings. And interesting to me was I went back and looked in 2019 in Minnesota, of all places. They don't have a lot of fire risk there, especially not in the Twin Cities. But there was, there was like, hey, it's an elevated risk, and this was in 2019. And then all of a sudden, you've got pallets of bricks and fires being set during the Floyd. Like I'd be shocked to find out there's not somebody somewhere, because it seems weird. Everybody who announces that they want a smart city has some sort of fire. There was one in Long Island. There was one in was it Myrtle Beach? There's areas of Florida, I think, that had them. They get brush fires and stuff historically, but not like what we saw. It was up in the Panhandle, I think, a couple of years ago. But anyway, there's all these random places catching fire. All eyes on Phoenix right now because they're the next one. They're like, 2030. And they recently had an uptick in their fire line scoring, which stands to reason. You're in the desert, but
right,
why it was a desert 3 years ago, so why wasn't it high then too, right? So I don't know. There's something there. That's why I keep spurging out and texting you about it.
No, there is something there. 100%. Hold on. I just finally, pretty sure I just pulled up the actual firefighter or fake fire truck, and Yeah. Here we go. This is so crazy, man. Like I remember I was doing the morning dump when all this was coming out,
Mhm.
and yeah, dude, this was what was seized, and the individuals who were arrested from Oregon impersonating the firefighters within the Palisades fire. Dude, they had been previously arrested for arson in Oregon prior to coming down to California and Los Angeles during this specific moment. And so again, it's just like Roaring River Fire Department. Yeah. That's so crazy to me that was actually taking place, but I don't know. It's kind of par for the course at this time in terms of the strategy of tension. Am I wrong? Like it's just, isn't this what you would do if you wanted to create?
I mean, it sounds like Gladio, but for fires, I guess. Because it is
really
it is like we're describing a false flag essentially in a different way.
It's so crazy to me.
Yeah,
but
it's
yeah.
not. And the fires, like I say, I think that's an end run around eminent domain principles.
Right.
That's how you can take parts of Long Island that are unaffordable. You can take parts of SoCal that are unaffordable. And it's just, hey, what are the act of God? You know, and every contract on earth has a force majeure provision where, you know, acts of God and stuff like that are, you know, non-performance is basically excused.
Right.
So they really have little to lose other than ruining the lives of the poor people whose stuff they burnt up. But anyway.
Man, I'm telling you, there's something to the blue as well, right? I mean, as far as what is happening. And now I do think the smart meters are definitely a factor, but also the what was it? I forget. It was what's the FEMA services that those blue containers or whatever the hell they were associated to some sort of emergency services. I forget what the hell it was, but it popped up then in Hawaii, right? When all of that was happening, right? The exact
like even
same
cars
thing.
and stuff, like right in the path of the fire, they were blue cars, they were fine.
Yep.
Like their tires would melt, but that was about it.
It was insane to me that was you know, sort of played a role. But I remember that there was actually an explanation for that at the time that I discovered, but I can't.
Fire doesn't like blue.
No, I forget. There was. Yeah, I know. That's what some people were basically saying. But no, I'll tell you.
Oh yeah, it's weird. You didn't know that? Fire stays away from blue. Just wear blue shit.
Sam had a dude, two guys on. Was it Topher Gardner and Jim Lee? I think.
Oh yeah, dude, Jim Lee's the shit. Yeah,
that guy's fucking awesome.
He would be fun to talk to. He's the one who first introduced me to really Project Popeye. Honestly, I think it was the weather warfare during Vietnam. I think it was him who first introduced me to that. But yeah, I just man. Oh yeah, guess what? Obviously, we have multiple examples of arsonists during the Palisades fires as well that were at strategic. You know, fire starting, like where the ground zero, right? The center of where the fire was actually started and then spread. And that to me, whenever you realize that there were direct connections to these people caught on camera, starting the fires and deliberately. And then one guy even, he got like, you had like good Samaritans, just civilians who were like tracking him down in a some sort of like suburb. And holding him against his will until the authorities arrived. I remember that took place as well. So, I mean, it was at an extraordinary level during the LA fires. I recall that much. And no way was it a mere coincidence, the extraterrestrial UFO craze during that time. And if you saw the actual video evidence that I recall seeing, of the apparent look at this unidentified aerial phenomena, right? And in reality, it just looks like some sort of directed energy weapon from a low Earth orbit satellite, or a drone that's clearly facilitating the sort of.
I got one for you on drones before I jump out here. And do you really think that there was an octogenarian volunteer at McDonald's with 20/20 vision that caught Luigi Mangione, or do you think that those were to track him down?
Dude, he was programmed to go sit in that McDonald's. That's what I think. I think that his post-hypnotic suggestion or his Neuralink microchip or whatever the case was that factored into his level of psychological programming. I mean, he was, to me, he fits the profile of, okay, now my instructions are go sit in this very McDonald's with all of the evidence in this bag right next to me, right, that they would necessarily need in order to of course entirely
Well,
just
he went to that place in Hawaii where they had those weird little meetings where they'd sit there and they'd go, they'd essentially do work together in a group type setting and essentially, like, I don't know, critique each other and kind of, I don't know, reminds me a lot of like the psycho machine or whatever the fuck the thing is.
Psychopath machine, dude.
Yeah, like that's what it reminds me of, but in a little bit like more of a. Yeah, and now, like, I know when people float out the idea of like what you were getting at number 9 here is that was that could be attributed to essentially them using some sort of technocratic tools of some sort, and so they just don't want to essentially other sources they don't want to divulge, so they have to make up some bullshit story so it doesn't fuck up the case. But I find it more likely that it's some weird spooky shit, because that seems like, yeah, sure, that could have been just the old just the government doing shady, I don't know, government stuff. They're trying to cut corners or this or that, as opposed to, which I guess that's corruption in and of itself already, but we're talking about differing levels of like a full-on op, or as opposed to just, I don't know, the cops cutting some corners. I don't know. I especially with something like the Luigi Mangione, it seems wild that they would be trying to cut corners like that. I mean, I guess maybe there was to be fair, to give, a tiny bit of credence, is I guess at that point there was like it kind of was a little bit embarrassing, because it was something, for the powers that be, is like, somebody got domed, like a big CEO in New York City, and was essentially escaping. So I guess maybe you could make the case that they were scrambling to get somebody, but I don't know. That seems to be a weird move, to me at least. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe it's just they're doing that. Either way, though, this guy, there's been a whole lot of other document stuff with this case too, of like weirdness, and he seems to be, he's kind of getting railroaded legally. So I mean, I don't. There definitely has been enough people paying attention to that. There's a lot going on with that case that's like, something's weird, and he's clearly, doesn't seem like his rights are being properly respected in a legal sense. It seems like.
Dude.
No.
He was yelling something about that when they took him in the courthouse too, right?
I'm telling you, man. Yeah. Well, what did Oswald say? I've been patsied. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not too at the very, man, there's no way it's outside the realm of possibility, as far as I'm concerned, that, there is, at the very least, you could imagine a world where obviously the propaganda and just the outcome of the big pharma has affected people to such an extent to where now they're willing, but for me personally, I mean, especially this sort of just the political profile that he fits into in the first place, it doesn't make all that much sense for him to have been this passionate about his sort of ideological cause and principles to conduct this such an aggressive act. It's possible, but it's very difficult for me to imagine him not being somehow affected by a psychiatrist at a certain point, and clearly being involved, I would say to some degree, to I would have to say, what do you remember the name of the place where he was actually engaged in that strange sociological behavior with other individuals who were kind of like reflecting upon each other?
I want to say, but I don't know for certain. I feel like it was the same island that what's his face.
It was
went
near
to,
Mark
but
David Chapman, right? Wasn't it something to do, or was that the Ryan Routh connection? I think that I'm mixing up.
By the way, don't bother bringing up these guys' chats. I see him. I don't really know what the fuck he's even getting at. I don't think any of us have even said any of the claims that he's saying.
He's cooked.
I don't know what he's fucking talking about, but yeah, there's no point bringing that up.
He's just fucking deep throating Trump is all.
It's weird.
It's very
it's
strange.
like we said Trump said some minorly bad. I don't even remember. We haven't talked about him all that much. So it's bizarre. Anyways,
dude, if you implicate Trump as a pedophile, you have to show the video of him raping a child.
Yeah,
it's the only way for people who are already too far down the path of ideological subversion, imprisoned in this two-party paradigm, or they're here trying to disrupt the show, and their only intent is to clearly, have us address them and make something of that.
By the way, to be clear, I have never at any point in time in my life asserted that. Well, actually, I don't. Maybe I have, but I am right now telling you I don't assert that. Maybe I have said on occasion, but if you got me to be like, what do you really think? I'd be like, for the interest of fairness, I don't know. I do not assert that Trump fucked
He
kids.
fucked those kids.
But I think, he fucked those kids. But what I think is he probably fucked kids. That is my claim here. He probably fucked kids.
Yeah, that's the only alternative, dude. We all wish Kamala would have won.
Dude.
That would have been.
We know voting doesn't fix the situation.
Yeah.
William.
And I've said this. I think likely we'd probably be in a slightly better situation, but it'd be probably a negligible difference. I do think that actually, now that doesn't mean I prefer Kamala's policies. I say this every time. It's just a reality of the political dynamic and how things play out. That I actually think, given the situation of like the Republicans controlling basically everything, and then a Democrat being in the executive, it would actually be a better situation than the Republicans basically running everything. Because as you see now, all of this before you.
Oh man.
But
so funny,
yeah,
but
but we've had you on for a while, but I think it might be time to get the next guy in here. Appreciate having you on anytime.
brother.
This is a
Later
great
on.
conversation. Yeah.
Later, number 9.
But we got your mom ready to hop on. I think
your mom. Get your
mom's ready to hop on here. Let's go.
Dog.
Good evening.
Good evening, my friend.
Hey, just to piggyback on your fire report in California, Mayor of LA, Jules, if you have that link that I posted in the chat.
Yeah, I got
Karen
you.
Bass.
She can't get out of her own way, huh? Your mom.
She's so fucked, dude. So she's cited in this lawsuit saying that she can deny dispatching firefighter fucking resources.
Hopefully,
this guy
hopefully you already
crucified.
ate, because
Yeah,
when you
dude,
hear
send it.
your mind is gonna just explode. Karen Bass has responded to the lawsuit against her for burning down the Palisades and killing 12 senior citizens. And ready for this? Public officials have exclusive authority to decide whether fire protection should be provided at all, and if so, to what extent. And then you can't second guess with judges and juries if they decide what have I been paying taxes for? Okay, give me my money back, because I decided to the extent that you didn't provide fire protection, I want the money that I thought was being provided. So you owe me a big bill for paying at least the last 8 years in the Palisades for my little taxes. I want them back. Send them to me now. And I also want the money that my taxes paid for this lawyer to write this, that also I paid for. I want that money also back.
I mean, he's kind of retarded.
I mean, this dude is always a fucking prick. What do you expect?
Yeah.
This is me.
No, the guy. Well, I appreciate this guy for what he's saying at the very
Full
least.
for what he's doing, but I'm just stating the fact that
I just like he's exposing it. At the very least, he's trying to expose Karen Bass and California officials for being unaccountable and clearly insulated from accountability in terms of misusing the financial funds from the emergency services that were supposed to go to the victims of the fire, right? Who had like these major catastrophic losses in the property that, you know, whatever the case may have been. And of course, there were all of these examples too, dude. This was crazy, bro. That as far as just the amount of funds from the emergency services that went missing up in smoke from all of these organizations that were calling and kind of playing on the heartstrings, obviously, of the general public who are just concerned about the well-being of the average person in the area, and then they manipulate them into offering up their own hard-earned cash money and for what they view to be this beautiful principled ethical cause to help someone in need. And in reality, you're just lining the pockets of the elite establishment who created this and manufactured this crisis to begin with, and are then
they do that.
right?
They do that all the time, right? Like every fucking major catastrophe, there's all these fucking celebrities that get on and fucking piggyback off the fucking like devastation and start these charities and these 501c3s, and the money doesn't go to the fucking victims. They pocket the shit.
No.
It's so fucking crazy, dude. Like imagine doing that to people. It's fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I couldn't. You have to be a sociopath. You definitely, and I think that's another reason why you have so many different examples of dynastic families being involved in leadership of government positions and things, because it's such a limited circle. You know, it's a small circle, a revolving door, and it's because they're the only ones they can rely upon to uphold such a sociopathic system.
Yeah, because they're all trauma-based mind controlled by themselves. They'll get raped when they're kids, and then they get jumped into this fucking shit. It's insane, dude. It's fucking nuts.
It is. It is.
So speaking of people getting jumped in and raped when they're little, so Jules, if you bring up that grape,
what's up, Jules? Speaking of people who got raped as children, what's up, Jules?
You hear that we pitched Jules as the gimp for our compound that we're going to create?
Yeah,
checks
Pixie's
out.
mad you're not wearing spaghetti straps, dude. You're gonna have to answer to her, not me.
Oh my god.
So this happened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
this
I
is-
meant to cover this
Oh,
morning,
yeah.
but I managed my time improperly.
So this
but
is
yeah.
interesting, right? So Norway recently established or
Recognized Palestine as a.
Thank you,
or as-
bro.
Yeah,
Yes,
there you go. Yeah.
exactly. So like,
Yep.
it's interesting.
The mothers
that this-
met with Epstein too.
Yeah, dude. And they just fucking kicked out a
As
bunch
you
of
do.
Israeli ambassadors from fucking Norway and told them to fuck off. And then this shit happens, and it's like
Yeah.
all in the news, like very convenient.
To be fair, I forget how exactly this story was thrown out. This was, I think, I want to say like at least a month, maybe even months ago. This was thrown out that I think there was a story that they were either maybe he had already had a couple under his belt, or maybe it was
we're
like
teasing it. Now it's
or they were
45
like they're getting ready to or something. But yeah, they hit him with like over 30, so
Yeah, it's nuts.
pretty wild. But let's be real, he does look like he probably goes to the fucking hunting parties, so he does have that look about him.
does.
Like he fucking does evil things in a nice polo blazer atop a horse.
Psycho look, for sure.
Yeah.
Right
Man,
on.
that
That's all I
that
got.
is
Free
Throwing
Palestine.
a few kittens against a wall.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe it's just Israel. I mean, they just kind of make up whatever they want. Apparently,
well,
you can.
saw that all those Australian diplomats, right, are also being sort of just as far as Israel's treatment, and this goes in. It's perfect timing as far as the strategy of tension playing out on behalf of Israel and Australia that we've sort of pointed out in different ways, right? Which, by the way, I saw another. I think it was on antiwar.com, and one of the I forget which port. It wasn't on like the main list of articles that they have. At
It's
the
one of
top,
those like
but,
other
yeah.
featured articles or whatever.
Yeah,
the ones I never look at.
Yeah, exactly. But basically, it was just claiming that there was this individual who had allegedly been he had some psychological issue, like in his brain chemistry, from a very young age, and he was allegedly he had been held in Israeli jail and charged for calling in all of these like mass shooting and bomb threat hoaxes over anti-Semitism. And I thought it was interesting because it became public just because of the fact
that's
that
actually a thread I keep meaning to attack on the more. One of these days I might get around to it. But yeah, there is like this weird series of false, I guess you could say false flag anti-Semitism, even though it's not really like false flag in the sense of like some awful deaths and stuff, but it's
being
like
greenlit.
yeah, but it's more like I don't know, a shit swastika at a synagogue and stuff like that. But like
but it feels like psychological warfare. This is how you would stage in the minds of the public. Dude, for real though, going to a synagogue in Australia, carving a swastika and then lighting the front door on fire, running away, acting like that was some sort of like
that it's a Jew that did it.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, it's always some fucking Jew that did that
Dude,
shit.
No, you know what they try to say? It was this Iranian who came from Sydney, right, or something to that effect, and traveled all this sort of geographical area to get to this point. An Iranian, apparently, which fits perfectly with the political outcome of it all.
Convenient.
But yeah.
Did you guys hear about the red heifer shit?
Yeah, shit's wild.
Bro.
I mean,
Dude,
just
Tim
brazenly,
Pool is
we did it.
He's such controlled opposition. It's fascinating to watch.
Adam King?
Come on now. At this point, it's just I'm starting to. I don't know. Maybe we're being gaslit, but these people are so brash and obvious about their loyalties at this point. It's just like undeniable.
It is bizarre. Okay, well, he's talking about Tim Pool, but he had Adam King on, Awesome Jew or whatever, talking about the red heifer stuff. Yeah,
That
so
guy, man.
yeah, that he's an awesome Jew, I guess. But
really awesome PragerU for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's iffy for sure.
But it's just what does it do? It reinforces the same theory that we've had. I feel like that I don't think we disagreed as far as a manufactured false prophecy is sort of constructed by the state in order to play into the religious ideology of modern society, and once you realize how deeply just embedded these ideas are and have been for generations now, and how much the Zionist project really had a diabolical influence on the minds of the West and the Western man. I mean, we are now, this is the reason why they have to create this really just extraordinarily heightened sense of anti-Semitism in this current political environment. It's because they have to stage this sort of the pretext that they will always be obviously exploit, but again, it's like once you figure out the path and the pattern recognition and the goals that they're hoping to achieve, it's undeniable that this is clearly one of the most viable and valuable tools in the current moment politically to weaponize. And so I think that obviously everyone who has any sort of moral, ethical sense about them and are willing to reflect and aren't ideologically imprisoned will say you're witnessing a genocide. You're witnessing deliberate policies of starvation, right? You're seeing actual the displacement of an entire people who are being forcibly displaced and are claiming, no, I'm not willing to go. I've already been moved around all of these different times. I'm not going into the South like you're claiming I'm forced to, right? And to me, it's just like, in every way, it's what we predicted to happen, unfortunately, but it was what I desperately hoped wouldn't. And that's like the worst part about it. Is like, some people seem to enjoy when they're right. Man, I don't like being right about any of this. This sucks, honestly. It's really just in no way is there a moment that I want to take a victory lap, except for the fact that I feel like I've done the work and I've put in the effort to manufacture defense mechanisms and not fall into ideological traps. Thank God for that. But that's the best we can do, right? Because honestly, yeah, I mean, it's just hard to even envision what the next step would be logically if you're attempting to make some sort of, manufacture some sort of viable solution, But I just definitely think that it's most important for us to be able, right, to wade through this very obvious propaganda that is being, clearly weaponized against us in this specific context with anti-Semitism, and how much you have to realize, like, dude, what do you think Kanye was? He's a damn cultural terrorist. We should have known this from day one. This is who he is. I think so much of Hollywood is just, they're compromised and obviously they're created sort of personalities in the first place, but they're there for a reason, and they're going to be leveraged and manipulated to obviously only benefit the permanent establishment and the agenda that they're pursuing. And so with Kanye,
absolutely,
every single turn that we took on that ridiculous wild ride, and I'm sure he'll make another he'll resurface again soon in the near future, I imagine, with some other ridiculous scandal that we'll all find important enough to reference. But at the same time, it's like, man, how do you not realize what pop culture has become? It's like, you think Hollywood,
people, their jobs as actors and musicians, that's their side gig, right? Yep. These people are occultists. They are magicians. They are witches. They're whatever you want to call them. They practice some form of dark divination. And I think you have to, in order to be a part of, to be an actor and have that life of fame and, have your star on the sidewalk.
Right, man.
Or you could sell crack like Jose.
Hell yeah, dude. Cracking kitties.
Cracking kitties, baby.
Well, hey, your mom, you've been on here for a while. I figure we either ought to bring on the next one or maybe
Shy
start
on
bringing
here
it to the
before we
end.
get
We got
out of
Shy, I think.
Love you, your mom.
Love you, your mom.
Guys. Free
So
Palestine.
Shy, if you want to come on. Also, I guess last chance for any other people. I mean, this is the last of the patrons. So if anyone else wants to join, you're welcome to. But otherwise, we'll probably wrap it after this one. So what's up, Shy? Pleasure to have you. What's up, bud?
What's up?
What's up, dude?
Yeah,
what you
man.
got? Got anything on your mind particularly? A lot of wild shit going on in the world.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot. My head's got a lot because you guys always touch on a lot. But the red heifer thing. One thing that really sticks out to me about the red heifer thing, and that the world really doesn't talk about. I don't really hear anyone say the aspect of, they talk about the priests that are to be raised as from children from birth on the bedrock where they don't ever touch the ground. They never leave that facility. I mean, that's some wild shit to raise children. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand how that's not like abuse. Like how can you, like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, and they do it all the time, apparently, because the priest that they have raised for it now is like 20. So he's been way before they knew they had any heifers for it. You know what I'm saying? Raised in that. So it's like a lineage thing. Yeah, that's wild. That's real wild.
It is a weird. They got pixie dust, so now they get to murder everyone in the region. That's the game here, guys. I have pixie dust, and even then, like, I honestly could completely buy this as a complete and utter lie. Like, I think they probably did it, but like at the same time, I also could just, it's the Jew spirit to just go, yep, we did it. Like, who the fuck's gonna say they didn't?
They'll just say. They say there's so many different versions of how it's to be acceptable. So it's like whatever. Maybe they did a version that a lot of them could argue, oh fuck it, we did something that they. I mean, it really all is going to come down to once we start seeing them build on the Temple Mount. That's there. That's going to be wild, and that's when a lot of shit's going to just get crazy.
Yeah, you murder a cow for genocide, and you get a chicken to remove all your sins. I don't know what happens when you get a blue whale. I think it's like the bigger you get, the more of like an expungement, or the more you're allowed to do. Like a cow gets you full on genocide, whereas like, I don't know, I guess like a chicken allows you to cheat on your wife or something. I don't know.
Well, they
oh my god!
Without the cow, they ain't caring about the cow for the genocide. They did that shit anyway. The cow is, for like bring back the Antichrist.
Yeah, they use the ashes. And this is what Adam King was saying. Apparently, there's been some select people, Jews, right, who they've tested the ashes on, and apparently miracles have happened. And someone who had Alzheimer's apparently started remembering everything. And you're just like, dude, come on, bro. But then he goes, but it's hidden. So, the word basically saying it's for them. It's only for them, or anyone who, I guess, adheres to their Noahide laws when those are put in place. But it's some mystical Kabbalah shit for sure.
And it was the burning of it was done 666 days after October 7th.
Real quick, I'm sorry. I just went on a weird tangent. This is completely. I'm off in another world right now because I just went on a weird rabbit hole of one of the people in the chat. We have Uncle Ted here. It says, when I was 15, a Taiwanese cult named the Shen Tao moved to my street and said I was God. Then walked around in cowboy hats and Nikes. Then just left. And then I just for shits and gigs, I just went to Grok real quick, and I was just like telling you about the Shen Tao cult. And so here is what it is. Shen Tao, as God's Salvation Church, or the True Way, was a new religious movement founded in Taiwan in 93 by Han Ming Shen, a former sociology professor at Xianyang College of Pharmacology and Science. The group blended elements of Buddhism, Christianity, Taoism, Taiwanese, folk religion, and ufology. Fucking glows with a strong apocalyptic and millenarian worldview. Once again, glowing. Here's an overview based on available information. I mean, I'm not going to go into all of it, but yeah, this is I mean, it's got different vague components of all. I mean, it reads just on its face. I mean, we could probably go into it. It glows. I just thought that was interesting. That was just random. Somebody in there's like, yeah, Shinto was
I want to talk about it, dude.
Yeah, that's wild. That's nuts. I mean, I don't. He's
levitate.
That is
yeah.
strange.
All right. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, whatever. Just I couldn't help but hey guys, this is a thing. That's weird. Okay, but go on. I know there's a weird little side tangent, but I looked it up. I was like, I want to share that with the class right now. But yeah, that's who those people were. They you probably were almost recruited to be a Fed, Uncle Ted, just like the real Uncle Ted.
Shinrikyo, like all these strange cults that are so clearly just cutouts from intelligence, in order to, one, I think there was definitely this initiative within the framework of building esoteric ideologies to sort of fill in this strange new age. It definitely feels like a version of how you would replace God, right? And I think that was how they hope to achieve certain aspects of that goal clearly. But I don't know. I'm under the impression that you're having so many more of these kind of like O9A types, right? Or like what's the
I need you to read that, Austin. I know you haven't. Your autism's leading you right now, but I need you to read that. This is the same guy we just talked about. That was his cult.
Oh,
this
wow.
is in Garland, Texas.
Oh,
where
my
David
God.
Koresh was from.
Well, hey, bud, all I have to say is that area was allegedly a foothold post World War II for covert operations, including mind control experiments, and so and they utilized multiple institutions and institutes around that area at the time, and so it would make sense. And they claim
This is what
that
we're
Mount
doing
Carmel,
right now. This is what's doing right now.
You can see
Yeah,
glow
for
from
real.
Space is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Said what?
Yeah, it glows from space.
See
The
the
da-
glow from
Oh,
space.
yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. There's no way around that. And that's anytime the new age. And if you're telling me there was a UFO, a sort of new age facet to the ideology as well, then
That's
yeah.
awesome. Your favorite uncle.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Y'all
No
throw
way.
some random facts in there if y'all.
That is crazy.
Y'all just making shit up now.
Oh yeah, which by the way, that reminded me of the mask that the finders wore, right? Which it's starting to make sense, right? Like I didn't realize how many of these abusers who are trying to implement the DID, the specific where their role as the individual operative in the network is to implement the DID through the trauma abuse, right? And they utilize masks for that very reason, to have this sort of ability to kind of disassociate from the abuse that's taking place. Wow, are you okay, dude? Like,
yeah, dude. Once again, the Uncle Ted's all saying Raytheon was 2 blocks away from my house.
Holy shit!
Like I'm currently bottoming a Fed right now. Like what other weird shit are you gonna tell me?
That's how I felt when I
Stop
lived.
it.
Dude.
I don't mean to laugh at this, but just.
Oh, that's my boy too. God is love is awesome, dude. I met him at
The
Bro Grub.
context
He's
it
one of
was
the
put
best.
in. Oh, that's good. That's good banner in the chat, guys. As
Man.
y'all had some bangers tonight.
Oh my God!
All right, Shy. Back on topic. What's up, man?
Nah, man, it's just kicking it. Shit, man.
You see this? It won't stop. We got Raid Shell. He said I met Obama at a gay bathhouse. I was just there. Check the vending machines.
I don't doubt that shit.
I don't buy
remember
that claim though, dude.
Do you guys remember that gay prostitute that came out and did a press conference saying he smoked crack with Obama in the back of a limousine?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My buddy
Yeah.
Clint interviewed him.
You serious?
That was back when he was on with Luke over a Best Political Show. That was I think one of their first big interviews. Was
Didn't he
right
say,
after he went on Tucker, they
looked
interviewed
like
the dick sucker.
I heard he's dead now.
No way.
That's what I heard.
Interesting.
Okay. Actually, you know what? That's what Grok's for. What's up with the dude who's? What is up with the dude who sucked Obama's dick? I'll ask Grok.
Is that which one? That's gonna reply. Which one?
Yeah.
All right, still alive. Yes, and we're about to find out because that's pretty wild if he is fucking. He is old though, to be fair. Is he still alive? There's nothing confirming his death. Okay, so there you go. I mean, obviously it's Grok, so who knows? Maybe there's something out there, but Grok's fairly reliable about this sort of shit like this, you know? So I don't know. But they can be wrong about stuff for sure. But that is, for those who are wondering who it was, that's Larry Sinclair. That's the one who made that claim. He is still alive.
Sounds like royalty.
Yeah, come on the show,
Shout out
baby.
Larry.
No,
Yeah, come on the fucking show, Larry.
I'm just
I'll
kidding.
reach out to him.
I honestly, I don't even want him on the show. I'm dead serious. I honestly wouldn't even care. I mean, I don't know if Austin really wanted to pull an audible and he really wanted to. I would do it for Austin's sake, but I personally don't care to talk to the dude who sucked Obama's dick. What am I going to talk to him about for an hour? Like, what did it taste like? I don't know. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to ask him?
Yeah.
What was cock look
like? Yeah, which I'm pretty sure Clint actually asked him. So it's like all these pressing questions that everyone would ask. It's like I think that a lot of them have been asked already. So I mean, maybe he hasn't been asked what Obama's dick tastes like, but I don't think it's really worth it to me. I'm while I may talk pee pee poo poo, I do like to focus on substance, and I don't really see what the substance is there at all. I mean, to give credit to Tucker and I guess Clint, I guess at the time, maybe there was a little bit of water to squeeze out of that stone, but after it had already been like mined by Tucker and them, it's like, what else is there supposed to be? Yeah. I think he actually did say something like that, if I recall correctly, as weird as it is. There was some like funny quote we had from his interview with Clint. He made some weird quote about what it looked like. I don't remember, but yeah, I don't think I'd have Larry Sinclair on the show.
I hope it was that. His dick was like
yeah. But all right, guys, we're getting a little bit into the gallows humor. I think we're long in the tooth. You guys ready to roll out of here? Man, we're having fun. I'm enjoying this banter, but I think it's our sign. We've run out of content for today. I mean, not content. We got hours, but I mean content without breaking off 45 more minutes.
Yeah, that's the problem. I haven't. Tell me next week you will make sure that I cover the Devil's Den double homicide.
Devil's Den.
I will. This is the third episode that I have.
I won't promise you, but I will promise you I will nag you about it. I will mention it at least twice. Awesome. And then at that point, it's like, I can't do it. Okay. It's on you. I can't do anything more than just being an asshole and be like, God damn it, Austin, cover the fucking devil thing. I don't care. Whatever the fuck else you want to talk, we're talking about the devil thing. Like, I'm not going to do that. That'd be wild. So if I give you two strikes, you get 2 strikes and you're out. I'll give you like two. I'll give 2 attempts at segueing into this, into your topic that you will inevitably then fucking like hard push me away from it and go somewhere else.
I don't know why I do that, man. Honestly, it makes no sense to me.
I'll be like, I got such a good fucking segue, and then fuck.
I know. I'm so sorry. But,
all right, guys, let's get out of here. Shy, thanks for joining us. Jules, where can people? Well, Austin, actually, I didn't mean to cut you off. Was there something else you want to say? Maybe there was something you did want to go into.
Just one other thing. Basically, the Devil's Den double homicide for sure. But then also there's footage of. And I honestly talked about this after the show last week, but I'm desperate to talk about it on a show on the record because essentially there's just this footage of Richard Allen being interrogated by the police. And I want to just briefly walk us through everything you should never do if you're put into that position, because that's essentially what happens to him. And me personally, I saw him crucified with the conviction, with the maximum sentence. And for me, I don't know, man. Everything that, yes, I always rely on evidence that I feel can at the very least provide us with corroborating evidence and sort of reinforce to where I'm not solely relying upon just theoretical claims of some sort. But honestly, man, when I'm actually attempting to read the character and the honest, like, natural reaction from Richard Allen in that moment. And in specifically, there are multiple sort of kind of like there are specifically like 2 moments where you see the genuine reaction from his soul. Like that's how it felt to me. And so I think it's important to show people this with that context and kind of fill in a little bit of the details, because so much of it I've seen people try and take it the exact opposite direction and claim as if, you know, he's essentially, you know, proven guilty in this moment. And I think that's so far from the truth. So I will say, man, Yeah, I try and put myself in the position, like psychologically, what would happen if I were actually innocent, and how would I feel in that moment? And obviously, if you're just an average Joe and you're not quite certain, you're not well equipped with the tools necessary to engage with the authorities at a level such as that, where so much hangs in the balance. The consequences of being wrong in this moment ends your life as you know it for good, and that just, man, it's heartbreaking to see. But anyway, we definitely have to discuss that next week for sure.
All right, Shy, we're kicking you out of here. Appreciate you joining us. Jules, let them know where they can find you, and we're going to get out of here.
Yes,
we'll see you guys next week at Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern.
I am on X at GrayPilled Pod, Instagram GrayPilled_podcast. You can find me on Rumble, YouTube. Follow me on YouTube. I got like a few more until I get to 700 or 800. I can't remember. So trying to hit that 1,000 mark soon. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Occult Reject Show Friday. So y'all tune into that. That'll be streaming off my channel. Having Esoteric Eddie on the 7th, September 7th, which is a Sunday. I think 2 o'clock Central. So everybody be sure to tune into that. Esoteric Book Review this Saturday morning, Patreon only. Working on some new sticker packs, some other stuff. And we just started season 3 of Twin Peaks on Patreon as well. You can find me over there, patreon.com/GrayPillPodcast. Got a lot of cool tiers. You get a sticker pack, bunch of cool shit that we got on the way. Yeah, guys, and y'all tune in next week. This was a fucking banger tonight, boys. Also, go to paranoidamerican.com/discount/graypilled and get 10% off your purchase. Get your Illuminati handbook and support one of my co-hosts of my shows. Sound Sciences, Elohim Etymologies are coming back. We just got to plan them out where they're going to be a lot more professionally done. It'll be a better experience for all the people watching. So,
hell yeah,
I do
awesome.
A lot of shit. Y'all know this.
And John says, "Why does Jose not have stickers? Because I don't know how to do that sort of shit."
I'll print some stickers for Jose and send them out.
What do I have? Like 2 designs? Like I don't know. Whatever. Okay.
I'll out anyway.
All right. Whatever. Austin, where can you find you, bud?
Yeah, guys, just you already know the Underclass Podcast is the best place to find me, and then yeah, check out the Patreon. Definitely dropped another whatever this is last night. It was super fun. Talked a lot of shit about the WNBA. there was a lot more that we talked about, but it was hilarious, honestly. And then yeah, man, I have quite a bit coming up. Honestly, I need to.
Hell yeah.
I have to deal with my schedule. The 100%. It's like getting to yeah, let's just say it's becoming quite a problem. So I'll just for my own sake, but be, I will say, I'll probably be, well, hold on. Let's say, well, Friday, I think I have something big, but I'll announce that later. Honestly, I'll probably promote it on social media. So for now,
all right.
I just nothing.
Well, we can tease it to the post show maybe or something.
I was going to say, I just
maybe
dropped,
depending what it is. So
I just dropped an episode with Trebles Garcia from Paranoid Radio. Banger episode. Go check it out.
All right, for those who want to support what I'm doing over here, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose. Those are all steps you can take to help any one of us here without chipping in any money that helps grow all of our respective shows. But if you do want to directly help me out with the best way you really can with money, the best way you can do that over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That gives you access to a whole slew of perks. I try to make it worth your value. I do, for example, 1 to 2 episodes behind the paywall a week. I usually keep about 4 or so behind the paywall any given time, and so that's weeks of paywall content. Those get released publicly later. You also get access to the ad-free RSS feed, access to the Telegram, which is also like a group Telegram between it's already dead Telegram. So it's got people from my supporters and Austin supporters Also, at the highest levels, my sponsors, and I read them. Oh, I also want to say, my bad. You also get the perk of you get the priority in the call-ins on Already Dead, which was like pretty much almost entirely patrons today. And you get access to the pre-show. So a lot of those guys show up and hang out with us in the pre-show. Anyone can hang out in the post-show because that just means you have to be there, be one of the callers. Don't hang out after the end. Also want to give a big shout-out to my highest level patrons, those are sponsors. Give them a big shout out to appreciate their support. I'm my previous co-host on Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad, also at Abrogate D's at ZOVRCK at _Inviseal, Tim Tuttle at John Klebold, Will Bells, Delicious Blueberry Rabbit I1, Big Fan of Show Torn May at Wayne Taculus, and Not Mossad. I'm definitely not funded by them. And with that, you stop doing that to me, Patreon, because now I do genuinely have like a larger group of people who think I'm feds, but which like I don't know. I guess it's one hand I'm like, who cares? But at the same time, I'm like, I'm not a goddamn fed.
Thanks for the super chat, Ash.
Yeah, that's what I
$4.99. I don't think we shouted that out. I don't know whose channel it mentioned that.
Oh yeah, by the way, this is the announcement, John Black. He's going on Rogan. So
why'd you do that?
Hell yeah, buddy. Yeah, Ass Cream. Thank you, man. Nothing but love, brother. You already know. He hit me up earlier in the DMs, and he's gonna have to make another appearance on the call-in portion, honestly, because he always comes correct. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, I've been asking him on for a while. He's always busy, and it's always the days I'm busy too.
Crisis, man.
Yeah. But it's killing him.
It was so funny. It was so funny. Anyway,
because I'm a serial killer, but people no one cares about, so we're good.
He's awesome. 100%.
Yeah.
Shout out, my boy.
All right, we're out of here, motherfuckers. See y'all next Tuesday. Bye bye.